We will now look at how to use multiple channels simultaneously. One of the capabilities that StarLab 3 has is the ability to add channels on the fly without having to shut and restart the application. We have one channel already operating. We can now add another channel either by clicking on that Select Devices icon or by going to the Select Devices top menu. Because it's so intuitive and pretty clear what the intent of this icon is, we'll do it from here. We click on that plus and we're taken to the Select Devices dialog window. In addition to the PD300 that's already connected, we will now select the pulsar, which has a pyroelectric sensor connected to it, and open session. We could merge the two channels onto one graph. For convenience, we'll keep them separated by clicking on split. The time axis is common to both or all channels. The y-axis values are independent of each other and are controlled individually from within the graph. Each channel is represented both by a color scheme, they're color-coded, and also there's an icon that represents each sensor type, not on a resolution of individual models, but here, at least intuitively, even from a distance, we can see that this is the channel that has the photodiode sensor working with it, and this is the channel to which a pyroelectric sensor is connected. As we saw previously, the y-axis values can be controlled individually from within the graphs, either by using the manual sliders or by manually typing in the appropriate values at the top and bottom of the y-axis. Graph types are represented by appropriate icons. There's the line graph. If we wish, we could change that, as we saw previously, to a histogram, a pulse chart, virtual analog needle. We need to make sure that our units are appropriate, as we saw previously. And we can add a number of channels. Usually we define the maximum as about 7 or 8, but in principle one could go higher. Clearly more than 4 windows would not be very useful in terms of an operator seeing what one is doing. One can perform data logging with multiple channels simultaneously, and all channels will appear in the log file, both in the log viewer format and in the text format or exported to Excel. We can also add what we call a math channel. When we click on the function button, we open up a new channel. The previous channels were labeled A, B, C, etc. The math channels begin with M, and we can add subsequent math channels which will then be named NOP, etc. The math channel is treated as an additional sensor operating in parallel to the other sensors for all practical purposes, and we can define this math channel in pretty much any way we need. We have some typical functions. For example, this math channel M can represent the ratio of A over B, or A plus B, etc. Or if we don't need to use any of those default favorite functions, we can define our own using free text. And we can manually type in pretty much any function that our application requires, and it will be displayed on a graph and logged if we so require. As with any other channel, we can X that out and get rid of it or bring it back. Please feel free to visit the Ophir Photonics Group website for further information or to download the latest version of the StarLab application.